Hey everyone, Jem here from Squid School, and I want to talk to you guys today about a really cool competitive event that's happening this weekend. It's already started actually, called the Big House 10. The Big House 10 is a long time Super Smash Bros. Tournament. It's been around for years, and it's one of the most highly regarded tournaments in all of Super Smash Bros. But as with many Super Smash Bros. Majors, there's also Splatoon at this event. And any of those majors tend to be pretty major Splatoon tournaments as well. You generally see some very, very high level play there. And it's usually really exciting because when people see what these top teams are running when they finally compete with each other, usually the metagame changes pretty drastically because people see all of the little secrets that the top players may have been keeping to themselves here and there. So this is an exciting time to be a competitive Splatoon fan, and I want to talk you through a few different aspects of this tournament. I want to talk about the format so that if you're new to competitive gaming in general, or especially competitive Splatoon, you'll kind of have an idea of how it works and why. I want to talk about the teams and the players. I'm not the foremost expert on that, but I definitely have, a good amount of knowledge of these people, and it'll be cool so that you can follow the storylines as you go. And I also want to talk about a little bit of the history of the event, because this is a very special tournament specifically for the Splatoon scene. And I think it's important that we all know that context. And I think that this is a really, really valuable tournament for us to be supporting. So I want to see more eyes on the event this weekend, and so I want to preview this and set this up so that it can be as enjoyable as possible for you to watch. This tournament has some pretty significant history, and we as the Splatoon community have a really close relationship with these people. Back in 2020, Big House runs in October every year, but as October of 2020 was coming around, we were still in the midst of COVID, and it was not safe to hold the tournament in person at all. So the way that the Big House had decided to run it was to have the Melee tournament, which is the main event here, through Slippy, which is, if you don't know, basically an emulator version of Melee that allows for online play with rollback netcode. It was really a revolutionary, crazy development by a solo developer. Super, super cool that they were able to build such an insanely complicated technical thing by themselves, basically. And they made this thing, but Nintendo did not approve of it for copyright reasons. Well, it was the only safe way to run the event because it was an online event. And so Big House kind of said, all right, look, this is the only way that we can run this tournament. If we can't run it this way, it's just not safe to run it in person the way that we would have to if we were playing it on the vanilla game. And so Nintendo didn't back down, and the tournament was shut down. They had to just completely cancel the entire event because Nintendo could not allow for this use of an emulator, which I personally think is really awful for a lot of reasons. So, fast forward to December, there is a Nintendo Open event where a whole bunch of top teams are competing. We get to the top 4, and that's going to be streamed the next Sunday. And it comes to Nintendo's attention that about a quarter of the teams that entered the tournament all used protest team names with reference to the Big House being canceled. So things like Save Smash, Free Slippy, Free Melee, Big House 10, things like that. A whole bunch of the teams, 3 of the top 4 teams, and one of them changed it later to another protest tag, were all using these protest names. And Nintendo didn't want to have to stream that, and so they just canceled the Sunday stream. So overnight, a grassroots tournament was started called the Squid House. And it was streamed on Endgame TV and raised about $25,000 for the prize pool, which was, needless to say, a lot more than the prize that Nintendo had offered. It was like eShop points for like a copy of ARMS or something like that. Maybe like a backpack or something like that. That's what you were getting from Nintendo. And here, $25,000 prize pool. There was just no contest. And all of the teams played it out in its glory at the Squid House instead. Nintendo was willing to run the event, and the tournament organizers were checking in with the top 4 teams, like, okay, we'll be playing tomorrow. You guys ready? And all 4 teams were just like, actually, we've had something come up. Oh, wow, what a coincidence. We actually are unable to compete tomorrow, too. And they all just dropped out of the event and went and played at the Squid House instead. In fact, I think the top 9 teams from that event, because after, one team dropped out, they asked, okay, 5th place team, are you available to compete? 6th place team, are you available? And they went all the way down the list to number 9 before they gave it up, and did not end up getting a stream out of that at all, if I remember correctly. Meanwhile, the Squid House was one of the biggest Splatoon events of all time in terms of viewership, in terms of prize pool. Just an absolutely massive event and one of the most beautiful moments of solidarity that we have ever had as an esports scene. And it's all because of this tournament. So I want everybody to go out and at least watch this tournament, something of it. I'm going to be VOD reviewing it on Sunday. This one's a big deal. This one is one that you don't want to miss if you are interested at all in competitive Splatoon and seeing what this community can put on. Let's get to the logistics of it. How does this work? So when you enter the tournament, you are guaranteed to be put into a pool. These are the pools. There were, I believe, 21 teams that entered this. And these pools are round robin. What that means is that within one pool of maybe 3 or 4 teams, every team plays every other team. So you get a matrix like this where Don't Sub to Shinx plays against Yami and Cheetos Crunchy Cheese... we're going to call them Cheetos, and the Drop Rollers, Drop Roppers. Don't Sub to Shinx here has already played, and they've played Yami, and they beat them 3-0. So you read it from left to right. So Yami lost 0-3 to Don't Sub to Shinx. Don't Sub to Shinx beat Yami 3-0. That match was on stream, by the way. Very, very interesting match on stream on twitch.tv/BTS-Smash4. Because BTS Smash, Beyond the Summit Smash, is the organization that's helping stream this event. So this is what the pools will look like, and every team is going to play in something like this. And then, depending on how they do, they're going to go to different stages in the bracket. So you can see here, Don't Sub to Shinx, they didn't lose to anybody, they got first place, so they're going to Top Cut. Top Cut is the furthest bracket up. It's the brackets closest to winning the tournaments that you can get to from this position right here. Now, in the Redemption brackets, you can still make it out. If we go back to the event overview, you can see, so pools, 1 per pool, it says, goes to Top Cut, and then 3 per pool go to Redemption. So Redemption round is... okay, you didn't make it out first in your pool, but you can redeem yourself. That's the idea there. And these all have not started yet, so there won't be an awful lot that we can see, although they might be put in here. And this will be another round-robin match. And then 2 per pool from the Redemption bracket make it to the Showdown bracket. So in Top Cut, since there were 6 pools... 6 teams have advanced straight there, but that leaves 2 slots available in a top 8 bracket, and in order to fill those, they're going to the Showdown bracket. And so Showdown, you can see, is filled in by teams who get first and second in the Redemption brackets, and then top 2 out of the Showdown bracket are the ones who get to go all the way back up into Top Cut. So lots of games available, because at the bare minimum, you are going to end up playing in 2 different round robins of maybe like 3 or 4 teams. So that's at least like probably 4 to 6 matches, even if you lose every single one of them. That's why we do it that way. It's so that even the teams that aren't very experienced, they get to still play a whole bunch of matches in a LAN environment, which is really cool. And that way we still narrow it down to, the best players in the room for the Top Cut bracket and have all of those really exciting matches at that point in time. So that's how that's all going to work. The rule set that they're going to be playing is probably going to change a little bit as the matches go on. In pools, they've been running, it looks like best of 5 here. Well, I guess with a round robin, the game wins matter as well. But effectively, you've won the set if you've won 3 before your opponents can. But they'll probably bump that up so that Grand Finals is as much as a best of 7. Grand Finals being the match where you win the entire tournament. And really quickly, this is a double elimination bracket in Top Cut. The way that a double elimination bracket works is that you have to lose twice to be out of the tournament. So let's say Scam and Don't Sub to Shinx play round 1, and Don't Sub to Shinx lose. They will drop, you can see their match B, they'll drop to here, and they can go all the way back to the losers final. Winner of this losers final, you can see O goes back up and gets to play against the winner here. So until they've lost twice, they can still win the entire tournament. And that's how that works. But obviously you want to stay on winner's side for a couple of reasons. For one thing, if you stay on winner's side, you only have to win this match, and this match to get to grand finals. Whereas if you were to lose and drop into losers, you'd have to win 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's more matches that you'd have to win. Plus, when you get to grand finals, remember, you have to have lost twice in order to be out. Well, the player who has made, or the team, sorry, who has made it to the top and is undefeated, if they lose to this team, they have now only lost 1 time. They need to lose twice if they're going to be knocked out. And so this team, if they were to win the tournament, would actually need to beat the undefeated team twice in order to knock them out. And that's how that works. That's all of the logistical stuff out of the way. Now let's talk about the teams here, because we've got some hitters in this tournament, and I am excited to see it. First of all, Don't Sub to Shinx. These guys were on stream earlier, and they were looking really good. Shinx is a long-time competitive player, pretty well known to anybody who's been around for a while. Had a pretty big presence, I believe, on YouTube. And so Don't Sub to them. I mean, they're pretty well known out there, and they're using some reverse psychology. Very sneaky of them. Cuber, I recognize from Arctic Moon, is a cracked Charger player who's been on the come up for the last few years. And then Odds and Twig. They're big names. They've been around for a while. I think they're all like Division 1 or close to Division X or something like that. Yami has some hitters on it as well. Tetsu is one name that I recognize really well there. I believe that is the Tetsu who was playing with Chara on Prophecy. Or whatever they were called. That team changed names like 4 times. But they were one of the pioneers of Bamboozler from even before it was played with MPU. So that's really cool. I've seen Hunty on Twitter. I don't remember too much about the rest of them. But all of these players are really, really good, and they put up a really good fight in the match that they played here. So that's an exciting one to watch. Then there are a bunch of players in here that I've played with before that are around my level or a little bit higher level than me, but I have met Slimy, I have met Satan. That sounds bad, but that's their gamer tag. Okay, don't come after me. I've met Froppy, I've met Smiley. Eris, I was actually considering teaming with for a good little while. Cracked E-Leader player. So lots of people there that I recognize. Bunch of content creators that you will recognize in this pool here. Milana and Barry of Element are here. Lux is a player that I run into all the time in solo queue. Really solid backline player. And I've seen Opie around as well. So those are, some names that you should know for sure. And then Vic, we were just playing chicken dinner. We were just playing on Mac and Cheese with Vic earlier. They played this match on stream as well because, I mean, you have to. You got that many influencers in one room, you're going to get big numbers on stream. So, no, it was a great match too. But then Sayonara, we can't not talk about Sayonara because these guys are up there as potential favorites to win the entire thing. Zero is the most accomplished North American solo queue player of all time, if I am remembering correctly. One of the only NA players, if not the only, I'm trying to remember if there was another one, to break 3,000 X power in Splatoon 2. Absolutely wild. Jared is a cracked skirmisher, plays a lot of CDS in Splatoon 2. I would imagine we might see dually squelchers or something out of them. I don't know. They can play all sorts of things, just whatever the team needs, I think. Q is a cracked charger player. We saw them in the Nintendo kind of preview of Splatoon 3. And then Sun has also been around forever. And Sayonara is a name. It's probably one of my favorite teams ever. That lineup just... Their aggression was so well coordinated, and they barely ever had to say anything to accomplish it. They were synergy personified. They'd run forward and immediately know what fights to take and who to help and where to go, and it was really, really difficult to fight against them. They at one point went to a Japanese tournament and outperformed like FT Win, and I forget what the other top NA team was there at the time. But they got further than anyone else did against the Japanese players, and that was really impressive at the time. So, excited to see them back in Splatoon 3. Then, Scraggy Squad here pulled a really strong win out. So Fusion, we've seen Fusion's video, if we were watching my resources channel in Squid School, on the use of the Zipcaster, Splatana Stamper, one of the players that's been pushing that. Rissa is a name that anyone who's been around competitive community will know. Commentator and a really, really strong support player. Has been, rising through the ranks very quickly, and it's exciting to see. And then I know of Steffi. I've heard the name often, and I'm sure there are a lot of fans out there. And then Ace, I think I've heard of as well. I'm not quite as familiar with those players, and if you talk to Popgun, I'm sure he'll be able to give you their full biographies. Then Yamum is British, if you will. We've got Dude, so that SRB2 dude, same dude. And then Power, Storm are names that I know from competitive, and Hope, I believe, as well. All strong players there. And it was considered a little bit surprising to some that Scraggy Squad was actually able to get the win over these guys. But they're both very, very strong and should go pretty far. Squid Pilled, I actually don't recognize too many of those players from. But Gravy is a whole bunch of friends of the stream. There's Devi. OBT is somebody that I've actually personally met and worked with. And then Boshin, also of the Grillers. We've got Pock. Oh, and we've got Cactus on there too. Maybe I should be clicking on all of these. So lots of people there that you might just know already. So that's a team we're all rooting for, of course. Going into this pool, so we've got Starburst. I've done a lot of talking about Starburst on this channel, but we'll go over them really quickly. Starburst are, in my opinion, the best team in North America and have been for the better part of a year probably now. Ever since FT Win disbanded, Starburst were the only team that could ever give them a run for their money. And since FT Win has been in kind of pickup mode or been a little bit more separated, not been practicing together as much, Starburst has been extremely dominant. And they have also put up pretty good results against top-level Japanese teams as well. So they are the favorites in my view, to my knowledge, and maybe there's information that I'm not privy to, but these guys are insane. They are so good. Then Tacticrew, Dio is a former coach of mine, so that's awesome to see. I think Smork, I run into them in solo queue sometimes, a support player. They were a junior player in Splatoon 2. I don't recognize the other two, but maybe I should. So awesome to see that those guys were able to get a win in. And then I don't think I recognize these guys personally. So someone will have to fill me in on the lore there. Let's drop down a pool now. So Scam here. Pro Chara is going to be on that one. So if you're at all familiar with their content, which you should be. Chara's there. Arashi's former teammate of Chara's from when they were playing on Prophecy and, the team of many names. Uh, I was seeing Arashi playing Splatana Wiper a lot in solo queue, and I ran into him, I think, once or twice. So I don't know if that's what he's been playing competitively lately, but he was one of the players that really pushed the Ultra Stamp when that first debuted in Splatoon 2. And there was even a joke Twitter account, just Arashi's hammer. That was a whole meme for a moment. And so that's going to be an experienced competitive team in general. I don't know as much about Max and Shadowwind, but if they're playing with Chara and Arashi, I mean, they're already going to be pretty good. And I'm sure there's more that I could learn about those players if someone wants to fill me in. This might be a really good comments section to go down and read, because I'll probably just learn about half the competitive community that way. Okay, so UMRM. So if in case you didn't notice, Shadowwind, Chara, Arashi, Max, the first letters of their names all spell scam. So I think my Umber, Ren, and Mothman caught wind of that and decided to make fun of it, and just that's my take on that. Maybe the tournament organizers decided to put them in the same pool as scam just for the meme. I wouldn't put it past them. That's a thing I've done before as a tournament organizer. So, Mai is a player that I've seen, I think, at every LAN I've been to. They're a veteran competitive player. I also played in a pickup with them years ago, Bucket Main from Splatoon 2. I don't know a ton about Umber, and maybe I should. Ren is the coach of Sayonara, so knows the game at a very high level, but this is apparently their first LAN ever. So that's going to be fun for them. And then Mothman is the backliner from Acropora. They are a Division 5 competitive team right now, plays a lot of Splatlings. Splat Force is a team that we have a lot of history with because I played for the Grillers for a long time, and Splat Force were some of our rivals for a while and scrim partners. So Todd and Avril are longtime members of that lineup. And then we've got Jimmy, who is the backliner from InkSync. And NM, maybe I do know who that is, what that stands for, but I don't recognize them. But so that's a little bit of a pickup. Those players I don't think ever actually all played on a team together, but it's got the branding of Splat Force anyway to keep the tradition alive. And then let's see, do I recognize any of these players? I don't think I recognize anyone on Coral Crew personally. But let's move on to the next pool here. All right, so Big is the massive, contender for first place here. Keo, one of the best players in North America ever. If you have spent any time around competitive Splatoon, you probably know that name. Then Fake JP is Henry, is another tag that they go by, but they've used Fake JP so often that you probably might recognize them from that, even just from watching some tournaments. Leafy, I've actually used a couple clips of Leafy quite a number of times. Just absolutely cracked mechanical player. She's nuts on like any weapon that she ends up playing. She was a Nautilus in Splatoon 2 that I recall, but I think that wasn't what she was playing in the Nintendo event that we watched earlier, like right before the game released. Leotos at the pre-launch tournament was the sole rep of the Splatana Wiper. So if they've kept that going, we're definitely going to be able to see some high-level Wiper play and see what the weapon can do. Or maybe they've decided to ditch it because they don't think it's good and they found something else they like better. I don't know. We'll have to see. But they are going to be up there in the top cut. Then Genie. So this is a whole bunch of players who do a lot of work behind the scenes as organizers and especially commentators. So if this is the same crim that I'm thinking of, I've casted with this player. I've casted with Genie. I believe I've casted or at least played in midpoint with Dan the Man. Nox is on the commentary staff for the tournament as well. Most of these players, if not all of them, are commentators. And they play it around like a Div 2, Div 3 level, if I remember correctly, overall. And then here... Oh, okay. This is licensed to Krill, basically. We've got Bronze, we've got Brock, Raptura, and Pico. So it might be a little bit of a pickup there, but Bronze and Brock have known each other and played at LANs together forever as LTK, as magistrates, maybe some others that I'm missing in there. But Brock.com has been a big friend of the channel for a long time. Still has, I believe, guest lecture status in the Discord server. Really high level, like shooter player, like short to mid range shooters. And then Bronze, if I remember correctly, is a backliner. So they're going to be strong players there as well. And so looking at the top cut here, we've got Scam versus Don't Sub to Shinex. This should be an interesting one because these are two really strong looking teams. Maybe like high Div 1, low Div X sort of area there based on the players I'm kind of estimating there, because Ludi divisions have been old for a while and I don't know exactly where it would break down to. Then Seo and Starburst are probably favorites to end up in winners finals. Big is a dark horse option here. And then for Showdown, it's anybody's game who ends up coming out of that. There are a lot of strong teams that are competing for just those two spots. So that should be a lot of fun to watch. So hope to see you guys in the chat while we're watching there. Have a good one.